Hi and welcome back to our channel. I'm Jennifer and this is Kate, and today we're sharing our end of the homeschool year recap.
We're going to be talking about what worked and what didn't, all of our highs and our lows, our favorites and our flops. So let's get started.
So we just finished up our homeschool year here. It was Kate's junior year, so 11th grade.
And it was an interesting year for a multitude of different reasons. There were a lot of ups and downs for sure, but we want to start today with the ups, talking about the things that worked for us.
So we both agreed that our very favorite program that we used here this year was a writing program called the 1 Year Adventure Novel.
And basically what this does is it teaches you how to write and revise an entire 12-chapter novel throughout the course of the school year.
We loved this program so much. It was so enjoyable and we learned so much. We started taking the information that we were learning and without even realizing it, applying it to other books that we were reading. So it was interesting. It really helped us have a lot of great conversations about what good writing is versus writing that's just okay.
So we definitely highly recommend the 1 Year Adventure Novel. It was a big win for us this year.
Another program that worked really well for us here was a class that Kate took from Homeschool Connections called The History of the Church in 100 Objects, which uses this book, The History of the Church in 100 Objects, as the textbook. So we read this over the course of the semester and we learned about so many cool items from church history, things like the Thomas pole, we had never heard about that, and St. Patrick's bell, never knew that existed.
And we had so much fun with this class. We loved this book so much that we did an entire video with it as inspiration. So we'll have that linked down below for you. We also had a good time this year with some of Philip Campbell's history classes on Homeschool Connections. I did US history and then early modern European history, and both of those classes were a big win.
And in case you're wondering what we did for math here this year, because math can always be tricky, it was geometry for Kate this year. She did Algebra 1 and 2 back to back, so this year she used Teaching Textbooks Geometry Program.
And I have never been a big math person, but I will say that this is a good program. It's very easy to use, all online, super user-friendly. So if you need a geometry, I do recommend this.
So we tend to be Charlotte Mason style learners here. We read a ton of books every school year, as you know, and in our spare time also. So we thought it would be fun to think of all the books we read for school this year and each pick out our very favorite one.
So my very favorite from this school year was The Healing Woods by Martha Rebin. So this follows the author, a tuberculosis patient, as she spends a camping season out on Weller Pond in upstate New York. And she talks about what she learned and what it was like, how it changed her, and how it ultimately helped her health. So we read this in the first semester and did talk about it and its sequels in different What We've Been Reading videos, so we'll have those linked down below.
So for me, I really enjoyed many of the books that we read, but the one I found most fascinating was this one called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus, the story of Nabil Qureshi, who was a devout Muslim, but then he ultimately converted to become a Christian. So he talks about what that was like for him. So it was a very fascinating look inside the world of Islam. And since Kate studied world religions second semester, this fit in perfectly.
So now we're going to move on and talk about what didn't work for us this year. Some of the stuff that wasn't our favorites. And we only really had one program that didn't work, and that was the Apologia Physics by Dr. J. Weil. And this didn't work not because it's a bad program, but just because traditional physics was not for me. There is too much math in traditional physics, and I am not that interested in physics in the first place. And I did biology and chemistry with him, and those were great programs, but this was just not for us.
We're not math girls here so much. Algebra maybe, but some of the stuff.
Physics?
Physics,
No.
yeah. So Kate put in a good, long, hard fall semester with this program and actually did pretty well. She got a B. Yeah. However, after Christmas, we decided that we wanted to switch gears to a physics program that might be more user-friendly for us. So we went with 2 physics classes from Wondrium online, both taught by Professor Benjamin Schumacher from Kenyon University. The first one was the physics of the impossible, which was quite fascinating. And then the second one was quantum mechanics.
So we learned a ton from both of these classes. We're now all up to speed on fermions and parallel universes, relativity, all the stuff that goes on in quantum land. And Dr. Schumacher is very enthusiastic about all of his topics. So it was a lot of fun, even if we didn't understand all of it.
It was mind-blowing at times. There's a whole lot that goes on in the quantum world that is just amazing. Now we want to talk about our least favorite books from the school year. Again, we each picked out one book that we really just did not like.
So for me, that was a physics book we read called What is Relativity? And that's a library book that we got, so I'll just put a picture on the screen. But I really just simply did not like this book. The author's writing style didn't really work for me. I found him hard to understand. And a lot of the physics concepts really just didn't come alive like they did in Dr. Schumacher's classes. And he also had a ton of thought experiments in that book. And I really dislike thought experiments now because of that. So I was glad when we were done with this book and got to send it back to the library.
Yeah, Kate was glad when it left the house. Okay, so that was her least favorite. My least favorite book really surprised me. It's one that I thought would be great. I'd heard great things about it and I wanted to read it for a long time. And it's this one, Jacob Have I Loved. Now, I enjoyed it at first. It's set during World War II, which is one of my favorite time periods to read about. But as we got further into the book, I realized that the main character, Louise, had serious anger issues and probably needed therapy. And the book just felt like one big, long teenage rant, which is not my favorite thing to read about. I also felt like the ending was very disjointed. It felt tacked on. It didn't resolve a lot of questions of what happened to who, where. So again, just wasn't a favorite. Big surprise for me because I had been prepared to love it.
We also had a couple of books that we did not finish, that we DNF'd. And the first one is one that didn't make it to the end of the first week of school, and that was Ender's Game. And we talked about this one in a What We've Been Reading video. It just didn't work on a multitude of different levels. We get into why in that video, so we'll have it linked down below if you want to check it out.
Yeah, we don't even own that book anymore. No, it's gone, thank goodness. All right, the second book that we did not finish is this book, a Catholic book called Heroic Habits, Discovering the Soul's Potential for Greatness. So we read for school this year also a book called Atomic Habits that we really, really enjoyed. This is a very secular book though. There's not a lot of Jesus going on in this book. So when we saw this one, we thought, well, it would be fun to compare a Catholic version to the secular version. This one teaches you how to become more holy using examples from lives of the saints.
And we thought we would love it. We really liked the idea of it, but it's just so very technical. Like, there's all sorts of philosophy and psychology in this book, a lot of Thomas Aquinas. So if you like him and like reading the Summa Theologica for fun, then you'll like this book, but that's not us.
Yeah, it was a lot heavier than I had anticipated. I might come back and revisit it, but I would take it at a much slower pace because it's pretty heavy, especially in comparison to this one. So I wouldn't say it's a bad book. I would just say it took us off guard. It wasn't really what we were expecting.
So the last thing that we wanted to update you on was how we're doing with our virtual walking tours. So as part of our PE for the school year, we signed up to do different virtual walking challenges through the Conquer app. And we started off doing the Camino, the Way of St. James, and that was a lot of fun.
In January, we had to pick a new challenge, so we got very ambitious and we decided to do the Ring Road Challenge, which is walking over 800 miles all the way around the island of Iceland.
And when we picked it, we thought it sounded like a lot of fun. We'd get to see all sorts of neat stuff and learn about Iceland. But in fact, there is not a lot to see in Iceland, at least not on the Conquer app.
No, there's a lot of grass, a lot of
Hills,
road, hills, a lot of water in the distance.
Some mountains.
Yeah,
occasionally a town.
Okay, like maybe once a month we'll like walk through a town and see a house. I saw one person on the road once.
I've seen some hay.
But that was back like in February. So maybe if you actually went to Iceland and you could breathe the air and see the sparkling waterfalls in real life, that would be a whole different ball game. But otherwise, there's just not a whole lot going on in Iceland.
No, there's not. Yet we've stuck with it. We're each almost about 70% of the way through in the 600-mile range. So we'll finish it probably in August or September. We're going to keep going with our hills and our grass. The Camino was a lot of fun, and Iceland, though, not quite as interesting, but overall the experience has been a good one.
Yeah, but if you had to pick, definitely pick the Camino. Okay, so all in all, it was a really good year. We had good days and bad days, just as you would expect from normal living. So now we're officially on summer break, and then in the fall, we are headed into Kate's final senior year.
Yep. And later on, we will do another video talking about all the curricula that we plan to use for that. So stay tuned. And also let us know down in the comments how your school year went, all of your ups and downs.
So as usual, we thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. Bye.